Welcome to Powered by Her, exploring the stories of how area women power their business. Hear from the growing network of female entrepreneurs of the Upper Cumberland with your host Tiffany Ann Ton, director of Biz Foundry. Powered by Her starts now.
Hi, it's Tiffany Ann Ton in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center, and you're listening to Powered by Her. I'm Ashely Swann, and today I'm really excited. This has taken a long time to convince you to be here. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you are, what is your official title with Food to the Rescue?
Goodness, I guess founder and director.
Founder and director. Yeah. So Food to the Rescue is a what?
Nonprofit ministry.
Okay, and this is an idea that you had, probably 5-6 years ago now?
Yeah, it's been 3 or 4. I think it was right after the playground project ended, and then kind of took a few months off and then got started right back at it.
So it is a ministry that ministers to, who are your customers or your?
Children ages 1 to 17.
And you are feeding students during school breaks.
Yes, we actually deliver food to them right before school break.
So in case we missed it, it's called Food to the Rescue. Mm-hmm. And you had this idea, and you have a heart for serving. We'll get into the playground in a second, but what made you decide to, I see this need and I need to fill this need? And how did you even think of the fact that there was a need out there?
Gosh, honestly, it wasn't really me. It was the Lord. And after the playground project ended, I just, took a couple months off, and then I just started praying. And I said, Lord, use me, use the gifts that you've given me, and guide me into what it is that you want me to do. And so I just felt a very strong urgency to feed the kids. And honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I just started doing some research, and I found that the backpack program did a really good job of feeding the kids on the weekends. The backpack program gives food bags to kids on Friday at school for them to take home for the 2 days that they're home. But what I found was they didn't give any extra food for the 2-week breaks that the kids are home. So,
and there are programs too that feed the kids during the summertime, mm-hmm. and so the kids can come to the library mm-hmm. and get food, and those programs were already in place as well. Yeah. But the issue was school breaks, mm-hmm. and then what was the other issue like for the summertime?
Mainly just the kids having transportation to get the food. Mm-hmm. So that's where we kind of came up with the idea of actually delivering the food to the kids' homes for the break.
I'm sure there are many points where people are like, "What? You're going to go to these people's homes mm-hmm. that don't have transportation, that don't have enough money to buy their own food." You're going to go to their house.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people thought I was kind of crazy. Sure. And honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. I just was kind of taking directions from the Lord. So yeah. It's all worked out.
Did you kind of have some conversations upstairs with maybe you're kind of,
Yeah, Lord, is this really what you're trying to tell me to do?
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to do this? Where am I going to get the resources? Where am I going to get the food? Where am I going to get the volunteers? And I just kind of went off the verse of if this is what he wants me to do, he will provide. And he sure has.
Yeah. And so, so you're from here, mm-hmm. born and raised, yeah. You graduated from Cookeville High School and all that good stuff.
Upperman, actually.
Okay. I forgot. So same area, but yeah. Neighboring high school. And so, as a kid, do you think you had a heart for service growing up in this area?
Absolutely. There were several times growing up where I found other kids in my class, may have needed food or clothes, and I would always ask my mom, hey, how can we help this kid out? And she always, one time I remember going shopping. I was probably in 7th or 8th grade. And we went shopping for a kid and went and took the clothes and put them on his doorstep so he never knew who they were from.
How do you think as a 7th grader that you realize, I think at some point we do know that you're raised in a house that has more than others, or that your life looks differently than others. How do you think as a 7th grader you realized you could go home and ask your mom to help out your friends?
It was kind of a long shot really, but I think my mom just saw how passionate I was, and wanted to help that friend out, that she was on board with it.
And you probably, I'm guessing you just kind of realized like, well, I have these things, and shouldn't everybody kind of have those things too, Right. So do you think that you, as growing up, you kind of had those thoughts of like helping others? Do you think you wanted to make a bigger impact, or were you kind of, they say a lot like, oh, well, what did you want to be when you were little? And I'm sure, how many times were you asked, what are you going to be when you grow up? What was your answer as a 10-year-old? Do you remember what your thoughts
no,
were?
I don't remember.
What your big goals of like?
No, I don't.
Well, and you were an athlete, so that was probably your main focus.
Professional basketball player.
Right. Like that was your focus. And it's really, somebody, and you went to college for basketball. And somebody who's in that position, it's kind of like, it's easy to just label them an athlete and not to know like, oh, there's more to them. They have this heart behind there.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure once, you kind of got into the sports, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make this impact on my community and make this place a better place. It was just kind of like, okay, well, this feels right at the moment. And
yeah, I think it wasn't really until college, maybe even later in life, that I kind of realized, I needed to serve others and help others out, and not so much focus on myself, but how can I love others?
Well, and you're probably somewhat of a normal 18 to 22-year-old that's a college athlete. You went away to school, so you kind of got out of the area and you just kind of had fun playing basketball, being in college and doing your thing, and weren't like, yeah, I could really. You're an average 20-year-old, not thinking I'm gonna serve kids and I'm gonna really make it, change the dynamics. Right. So at some point you come back to Cookeville and you get married, you start having kids, you start building kind of the community and the family atmosphere that you loved about the area growing up. And this playground project comes up, and so tell me a little bit about that.
Goodness. It was just, there was a group of us moms that we were always looking for a place to have play dates. We were all stay-at-home moms, and we were all looking to get out of the house and hang out and let our kids play, have some adult time. And so we used to drive to Lebanon, Mount Juliet, if sometimes even further, just to go to little splash pads or cool playgrounds. And so I was like, why not build one here? And so I lived in Florida for a small stint when I was younger, and I'd actually helped with a community built playground down there. And so I kind of looked up that company and then found information on it, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. Why not?
and quite quickly into the project, you got pregnant with twins.
I did. Yep.
So you had you kind of formed your team, and you you asked people to come on, jump in, and you were in charge of a community build playground with two current children, two current boys, pregnant with two other boys, and kind of led the efforts of this.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a much larger project than I had imagined.
In case you're just joining us, we have Ashely Swann with Food to the Rescue and just kind of overall community volunteer. And so this was called Heart of the City is what it ended up being. And so the difference between a community build playground and a city playground is what? Well, it's
not only built by the community, but the funds are raised by the community.
So the city it wasn't like the city has $500,000 lying around that they're going to just invest into this thing. There was a team of mainly moms.
Right. Yeah, it was.
Not necessarily people who are running a business, people who know about this, just a bunch of moms kind of going around. And one of the campaigns that you guys ran was the All In for 10, and people literally donated $10 each.
$10 each. That was a brilliant idea.
And thousands of dollars were raised through All In for 10.
Yeah.
And part of this is too is that it's the community that's building the playground.
Right.
So tell me about that, how that all went.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was quite the effort, fundraising and getting volunteers. But I think too, a lot of people wanted to get involved because it was a community thing. And so everybody wanted that feel of togetherness, and everyone, and we did actually end up partnering with the city, and they provided the land that we built the playground on. But yeah, it was fun getting the community together, and we got it done.
And it wasn't even necessarily. There were people who you had build captains, and I remember there were build captains that didn't have kids,
right?
May never have kids, and but they were out there part of it. And it wasn't like they were builders or construction. They just, like you said, they wanted to be a part of something bigger. And so got this playground built and really you were that driving force of the crazy idea of just, yeah, we can do that. Like, and the other aspect of this community playground is that it fits the special needs community as well.
Yes. How
important was that for you to make sure that was a focal point of it?
It was very important. We were friends with Jeff from Rising Above Ministries, and he played a big role in fundraising and the planning process of the playground. And so he had a special needs son. And so it was just very important. And once, we got to talking with him, there wasn't another all-inclusive playground in Cookeville. So these kids,
or even anywhere close by.
Yeah. And so we realized how important it was to have an all-inclusive, which meant, we have ramps in the playground for wheelchairs, and we have special seats and chairs, and for even our merry-go-round,
yes.
You could put a wheelchair on the merry-go-round, lock it in, and spin.
And the merry-go-round cost something like $20,000 or something.
Oh yes, it was quite the expense. I think it was more than that actually. And and it shipped here from overseas,
right? And shipping, and that took a month to get it in. And but you and Kelly was your co-director of that. You guys really felt like that was nope. We're not gonna. We are getting this merry-go-round.
Oh, absolutely. It was a vital piece of the playground. And when I go over there now, like, kids love it. Kids of all ages and abilities. So
right. Yeah. And it is such a good addition to this community. And so how do you think that working with the playground and seeing what this community could do really shaped the direction of Food to the Rescue?
Wow. For one, it kind of put me in the position of being a leader and making relationships, building relationships with people and businesses in town. And so it really just kind of set me up to go right into another nonprofit. And
do you think that you felt like, that's interesting that you say it set you up as a leader. Do you think you felt like a leader before that?
Yes. But it was always usually in sports, basketball.
The team captain.
Team captain, always, yeah. And then I did intramural sports, and I was always the person that, put together the teams and grabbed people to play on the team, sort of like how I grab people to volunteer.
Right.
So,
well, and I think it's interesting, though, as women, sometimes we have a hard time really like standing proud and standing tall and saying, yeah, I am a leader, and I am going to grab these people and steer the ship, and we are going to push it in this direction, and we are going to make a difference. Mm-hmm. I think as women, it's like, well, we're just a bunch of stay-at-home moms. And now you're running a nonprofit that serves this community and the county and a lot of children. Do you still try to pretend that you're a stay-at-home mom?
Yeah, I am still a stay-at-home mom. I usually, even with running Food to the Rescue, I try to do, now that my twins are in school, all four of my kids are in school, so I usually try to do, I try to work on it during school hours. And then I always tell my volunteers, like, 3:00 when I pick up my kids, everything's going to have to wait till tomorrow. Right. So, but
you're a working mom. But I think that it's hard sometimes for women to give themselves that grace, like I am working, but I am doing both, and my children are a priority to me. And like you said, sometimes I think it's hard when you're running an organization, a business, to say, okay, at 3:00, that's the end of it. But as you I'm sure at the beginning you were like, oh, yep, I got to answer everything all the time. And you had 2 small children still at home. Yeah. And so kind of figuring out, what do you think has helped you figure out what boundaries that you need to be successful as a mom and as a director of a nonprofit?
Well, probably the playground project, because I feel like we were on all the time, and I didn't, because my kids at that time, I think all of them were at home that time, that I never had a stopping point. And so I was texting and calling and emailing all the way up to dinner or later. And so I think from that project, it made me realize that I've got to turn it off and focus on my family. You know, once they're home. And
then, and like you said, once the school starts, you have an easy stopping point. In case you're just joining us, we have Ashely Swann with Food to the Rescue in the Hinton Oakley Podcast Center. So you feel like you're getting this message from God, serve kids with the food. Here's some of the holes that we see are school breaks and transportation are issues. So where do you figure out the resources to start a nonprofit and to get some money, get donations, get these volunteers?
Well, that's the interesting part, because at first I did partner with the Putnam County School Nutrition Department. And actually the hardest part was finding the kids to feed. So you wouldn't think. But when I was asking for kids' addresses, you know, you're just starting out, people are like, do we trust this person?
Right.
They're going to come to my home. I'm going to give them my kid's age and what school they go to and my address. And so that was kind of the hard part. So it actually, once we got, we first started with 8 kids, serving 8 kids in June of 2017.
Okay.
And so, go ahead.
And that was that summer. So you were serving 8 kids that summer, where you had 8 deliveries that you had to take out.
Yep. And so we were picking up little bags of food from the school nutrition department. And then we were delivering food to those 8 kids. And then it wasn't until that Christmas that we ended up signing up 100 new families. So we went quickly from like 8, and then we had around 24, 25, and then we went to like 250 kids. And so once people and even friends and family realized that I was serious and I've got all these kids that I need to feed, more donations started to come in, more volunteers started to come in. And that's when I felt like, okay, I am doing the right thing, because this is what God has called me to do, because now things are starting to line up.
Well, and I think one thing that as entrepreneurs, business owners, it's always like, okay, where do I now legitimize this? So, the first couple times, I mean, there was a store in town that's where you did your distribution from. You took out, the store had closed down, and people were picking up. It's in the middle of downtown. People couldn't even park to come get the stuff, so you're having all these issues with that. So at what point do you stop and be like, okay, I got to stop running this from my house, or stop running this and really legitimize what you're doing?
Well, we got so large so quickly that we realized not only did we need a place to pack the food bags, which actually we do boxes now, but we also needed space for our volunteers and our delivery drivers to come in and pull in and park. And actually, since the pandemic, we've actually gone to like more of a drive-through service. So the drivers stay in their car the whole time. They pull up and we say, hey, and get their name and information, and then we load their car and they take off. So it's actually a more efficient process now. But
I've heard that a lot with the pandemic, that people, you have to pivot. And so then it ends up kind of getting better than it was before. How did that affect your families, that these kids who usually, and for those who don't know, if you don't have children, school systems feed children often at the school. And so when they're not in school, they're not eating, or they don't have the food that they normally have when they're in school. So suddenly we're hit and we're going to be out of school for 3 months. What'd you do then?
Well, as crazy as it sounds, so spring break is normally only 1 week. And so when we were preparing for spring break, in the past, we've only given 1 week worth of food. This past year, right before the pandemic hit, we were preparing for 2 weeks of food. Well, we didn't even realize we were preparing for 2 weeks of food until it was time to pack. Well, we had already ordered and we had already planned for it. So we're like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and give this extra food out. And, you know, I'm sure these families need it. And so then it kind of even gives me chills now because we didn't know what was coming. But then, you know, once we delivered the food and then a week into spring break and then that's when they called off school. We're not going back to school. And they were like, oh my gosh, like, you know, it was like the Lord knew that these kids would need this food and we didn't. And so we were just glad that we ended up giving it.
Yeah, having some extras there. I'm sure, and we kind of mentioned a little bit where people thought you're driving to these people's houses. Yeah. Were there any times that you actually felt like, what am I this is not going to work. I need to turn around and cut and run and this isn't, I need to let this go.
Absolutely. There's been several times, you know, it's definitely out of everyone's comfort zone to deliver. I myself have delivered to places that, you know, aren't as nice as, you know, your average house. You know, there's trailer parks and apartments and there may be more trash laying around, but all those people usually are loving and caring too, and they just need a chance and they need help and guidance. And so when I first started, it was definitely out of my comfort zone. And but the more that I delivered to these places and then saw how thankful the people were for the help and for the food, it kind of like opened my heart and just, you know, it kind of made the stress of like delivering to those places kind of fade away. Well,
and I'm sure that you have the responsibility of, yes, you're feeding these kids, but you do have the responsibility of keeping your volunteers safe as well.
Absolutely.
And so that's got to be a lot of pressure on you.
It is. And I always tell people, if you ever pull up to a place and you feel uncomfortable or there's an aggressive dog or anything like that, don't get out of your car, bring the food back. And, you know, I myself will deliver it or, you know, we'll find someone else. But I don't ever want anybody to feel unsafe or, you know, not comfortable doing it. But you definitely have to step out of your comfort zone when you deliver.
And it is eye-opening. Part of what you put in the box are prayer cards. And I have personally delivered for you guys before. And I went to one lady's house and she had all the prayer cards taped to her door.
Yes.
So she's, you know, and that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, this is working. It's happening. These people, this is a need, a shortcoming in the community that you're able to fill. So what do you think comes next for Food to the Rescue in the future? How many students are you serving now?
We're currently serving around 650, give or take. You know, we got up to like right around 700 at the beginning of the summer, kind of at the, you know, when the pandemic. But then we actually lost some people because a lot of times people move, their phones get cut off. And so if we can't contact them to know if they live in that location or not, we can't deliver to them. So we're currently right around 650.
650 throughout the county. And so what comes next?
What comes next? Gosh. You know, we've been trying to grow our teacher snack program. And that's where we feel like, you know, teachers do enough for the students. And so a lot of the teachers like to keep snacks in their drawer in the classroom. And so there's plenty of kids that, you know, they come to school hungry. Sure, the school feeds them, but then there's also like a snack time. I mean, everybody gets like a mid-morning snack and gets hungry. So we've been trying to reach out to the teachers and just provide them with classroom snacks. So
what do you think that this will grow outside of Putnam County at some point?
Oh, absolutely. I've had, you know, people in Overton County, White County ask me, you know, how to get started. And I've been more than willing to help them get started. But I don't know if Food to the Rescue is in a position right now to actually deliver that direction.
Yeah,
but.
or even franchise out as you, the director of. Have you ever thought of doing some public speaking about kind of the service that you do?
I don't enjoy public speaking very much.
You need to hire a PR person that can go out. But, I think this could be something that could, I think you're impacting this little part of the world. Yeah. But you could really impact the country with a program like this that people don't even know that there's a need. I never thought that. I knew that kids don't eat when they go home, but I never thought about the fact that like they need the food brought to them. That's one of the issues with this whole thing.
Well, there's multiple food pantries around town, but my focus is the kids. And so, if the kids don't have transportation to get the food, then it's best to, we take it to them.
Well, and it's not even, if they're in a situation where their parents, it's, no kids obviously really have the transportation, but a lot of them, their parents, have no way to get there either and serve that. So anything else that you want to tell us about Food to the Rescue, or any advice that you maybe have about starting a nonprofit and starting a ministry?
Well, I guess first of all, we're doing Spread the Love September, which is we're collecting peanut butter, and that's where the Spread the Love comes from. And so we try to give a jar of peanut butter per child each distribution. So we do 6 distributions throughout the year. That's fall, winter, spring, and then 3 in the summer. And so we try to do 1 jar of peanut butter each one. So we're trying to collect 4,500 jars of peanut butter for the whole year.
Wow. Yeah. And so right now, if people wanted to donate peanut butter, how can they do that?
You can either donate monetarily online at our website at foodtotherescue.org, or if you're local, you can drop off peanut butter at First National Bank, Carlin Insurance, F&M Bank.
Are all these places on your website? Are they all listed on your website?
They are.
So people can go to foodtotherescue.org and figure out where they could donate in person, or they can donate monetarily online. And
the next thing I was going to tell you about is the Sponsor a Child. So in December, we have a really cool,
favorite.
Yes,
we have a Christmas ornament.
Yeah, we have a really cool, and so this year's ornament is going to be Mr. Peanut. So we're super excited about him because he's so cute. And so for $50, you sponsor a child, and then we will give you a little ornament to hang on your tree.
That is one of the
mascots.
Mascots of your logo that has the Food to the Rescue. And so we've had a carrot before, right?
Carrot.
And who was the other one? A tomato or
apple. Yeah. And then this year it was either between the grape or the peanut, and so we chose
Mr.
the peanut. Yeah.
Yes. So adopt a child, and can they do that through the website as well?
They can. Yep.
And there are other locations around town that sell the ornaments. It's a great gift to give somebody, your best friend who always says, I don't want anything for Christmas, and you're making a donation, but then you can also give them something as well. And I collect them on my tree.
Yeah.
So, and do you have social media? You have a Facebook page, and
we do. It's Food to the Rescue.
The number 2.
And Facebook is Food to the Rescue TN.
Okay. Yeah. So people can find you, and I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to see where this goes and see. It's just amazing how much it has grown in the past just over 3 years, and what you've done, and the impact that you. I hope you really stop and take a deep breath now and then and realize the impact that you have made on this community. So I have been, like I said, I've been waiting to get her into the studio, and so you guys can hear her story. And so thank you, Ashely, so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
You've been listening to Powered by Her. Download your favorites and keep up with new episodes in the Hints and Oakley Podcast Center.